Jersey, Channel Islands, 1945. Grace Stewart lives in a large house on the outskirts with her children, daughter Anne and son Nicholas. Her husband Charles is fighting in the war in France, but the family has not heard from him for a year and a half, and he is considered dead. One day, all the servants suddenly disappear from the house, and the estate is shrouded in fog, which is familiar for these places, but does not subside. The film begins with the arrival of three people, Nanny Bertha Mills, mute maid Lydia and gardener Edmund Tuttle. They tell Grace that they used to work here before and are happy to return to the house they love. Grace accepts them, although she later learns that the postman did not take her letter to the local newspaper with an announcement of hiring, but Bertha reassures her by saying that they came by chance, hoping that there would be work for them. Grace then introduces them to the strict rules of the house: no noise and playing the piano, as Grace suffers from migraines, and since Anne and Nicholas suffer from a rare intolerance to bright daylight, no door in the house can be opened until the previous one is locked. The rooms they enter must always be draped with thick curtains. For the same reason, there is no electricity in the house. Anne and Nicholas are allowed to light only kerosene lamps and candles. Bertha, after talking to the children, notices that they are impressed by something that happened recently, but they keep silent about it and generally prefer not to talk. At the same time, Grace tells Bertha that she tries to hold on with all her strength, because life without her husband and away from civilization is unbearable for her. Grace herself is in charge of educating her children. She is strict and devout, so Anne's blasphemous questions are always taken aback. Soon Anne claims that she saw a boy named Victor and other people in the house, but no one believes her. However, Grace soon begins to notice something strange herself. She hears footsteps, children's crying, or other sounds, and doors that were locked turn out to be open, and someone pulls the curtains in locked rooms. Then she listens to Anne, who tells her mother that she saw Victor's parents and a strange old woman with white eyes. Moreover, she saw the old woman more often than the others. Grace, together with the servants, begins to search the house, room by room, and in the process finds in the house a Book of the Dead, a photo album with post-mortem photographs. This is how relatives of the deceased hoped to preserve the spirit of their loved ones in photographs in the 19th century. Grace asks Bertha to get rid of it immediately. Not finding anyone, Grace convinces herself that ghosts have settled in the house. One night there is a strange incident. Grace hears the piano playing, but when she enters the hall, the piano falls silent. She locks the piano with a key, but when she leaves the room, the door suddenly slams shut and there is a sound of turning a key in the keyhole, as if someone is locking it from the other side. When Grace unlocks the door, she finds that the locked lid of the piano is lifted up, although she had the key from it. Her nerves give way and she goes to the local priest to bless the house. Leaving, she asks gardener Edmund to comb through the estate grounds, as they were told when they moved in that there was once a small cemetery on site. When she leaves, Edmund suggests Bertha stop Grace, but she says that Grace will be stopped by fog. Then Edmund asks when they should tell Grace the truth, to which Bertha replies that everything has its time, and draws attention of gardener to a pile of fallen leaves he collected in one place. There sticks out a piece of tombstone cross, which Edmund immediately covers with leaves. Very soon Grace gets into thick fog where she loses orientation but unexpectedly bumps into Charles. Delighted by his return, Grace leads him into house. Charles expresses joy but very weakly and generally behaves very detachedly. Here Bertha and Edmund have another dialogue where latter asks how soon will they figure it all out. Bertha replies that Anne is not as stupid as her pious mother and therefore will understand everything first. When Edmund asks about Charles, Bertha says he knows where he is. There is a new incident. Grace dresses Anne in a dress for First Communion and suddenly discovers with horror under veil instead of daughter's face of horrible old woman similar to one who often appeared to Anne, who speaks with girl's voice. Grace grabs her by neck with scream for her to return. Her daughter tears off veil and sees frightened Anne with second horror. Later Charles tells Grace that Anne told him about what happened that day. Grace only says that she did not realize what she was doing and blames it on atmosphere in-house. At same time Anne tells brother before that mother who attacked her looked exactly same as then. Charles reports that he is going to return to front soon because he did what he wanted, saw family. Grace falls into hysteria, accusing husband of going to front not only because of sense of duty but also because he fell out of love with her and did not want to see her anymore. She calms down only after making love with Charles, but next day finds that he has already left. Waking up in morning, children are horrified to see that curtains have disappeared from windows and daylight pours on them. Grace is no less horrified to find that curtains are gone from all windows in house. Shoving children into room where she managed to close window, Grace unexpectedly faces indifference of servants who say that her fears about harmful effect of light may already be unfounded. In Grace, such cold-blooded behavior only causes anger, and she, pointing a gun at the Trinity, demands that they get out of the house. Servants, without expressing any surprise, leave, but outside house Bertha says that if Grace does not want to understand anything, then they will have to remove leaves from graves. Grace searches house all day for curtains. In evening, when it gets dark, children get out of house and go looking for father. They find same tombstones in garden. Grace, having searched whole house, decides finally to look into room occupied by Bertha and Lydia. There under mattress she finds post-mortem photograph of all three servants. At same time, Anne sees with horror name of Bertha on tombstone. Suddenly servants appear next to them and tell them that they need to be more attentive, and then they will understand everything themselves. Children run in horror to house where they are met by Grace. She makes several shots in direction of servants, but Bertha tells her not to bother. More than 50 years ago they were killed by tuberculosis. Sending children upstairs, Grace locks front door. Standing in front of entrance, servants tell woman that she should have realized long ago that the dead can be with living together. Then they say that others have been living in this house for a long time and it was they who took curtains off. Anne and Nicholas hide in closet where they suddenly hear someone's breathing, then doors open, an old woman with white eyes appears. Hearing children's screams, servants tell Grace that others found them. Reading Our Father, Grace goes into room where she sees following picture: her children huddle in corner, and in middle of room there is table where several people sit together with same old woman who, being blind, which is why her eyes are white, moves pencil on paper and records everything children say. She asks them to tell what happened in this room. As if obeying some order, Anne, looking at Grace with fear, whispers to old woman, "She took pillow, I could not breathe." "Pillow?" asks old woman. "She killed you like that? With pillow?" Anne and Nicholas shout that this is not true and they did not die, and later their screams are joined by Grace. At some point she flies to table, shakes it, grabs written sheets and tears them in rage. Scene is interrupted by several inserts showing same room, but table shakes by itself, as do sheets which tear in air. Then action unexpectedly moves to those who sat at table. From their dialogue it turns out that Grace Stewart suffocated her children with pillow and then shot herself. Boy Victor and other ghosts are actually living Marlish family who moved into house after death of Stewart's. Blind old woman is medium who was invited to establish contact. Marlish family, convinced that ghosts they encountered were Grace and her children, decide to move out of house. Then action moves to Grace, who sits on floor in corridor hugging children and crying, tells that when she killed herself she saw Anne and Nicholas alive and decided that God, in gratitude for her faith, gave her second chance. Charles obviously died in war. Anne asks mother if they died, where is what Bible calls limbo. Grace says she does not know, as well as what will happen to them now. Suddenly Bertha appears and says Lydia asked same question when she realized they were dead and has been silent ever since. Then she apologizes to Grace for not telling her truth right away and says living will leave tomorrow but new ones will come instead. Grace, Anne and Nicholas start repeating this house is ours. In morning, Grace and children, who are no longer afraid of daylight, stand at window and watch Marlish family get into car. And if in world of spirits fog continues to hang around house, then in world of living there is clear day. Did you enjoy the movie? If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more movie summaries. We will do our best to bring you a new summary every day, so stay tuned and don't miss out. Thank you for watching and see you next time.